So hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Yeah, another video on camera. I don't know what this is all about, but I think mostly this one is on camera because I don't have a whole lot to show you. Flip throughs and that kind of thing. This is in response to a request that some of you guys had about a look back or talking about my planners for 2021. So this is kind of like my take on the planners that I use for 2021 so far. It's August, so the first 7 months of 2021, what did I use? And what's been working well, what hasn't been working or didn't work that got abandoned. What am I using for the second half of 2021? And any lessons that I've learned so far. So if you're ready, let's get started. So first of all, want to talk about, and again, I have notes, so that's why I keep looking down, because otherwise I'll ramble forever, and this video will be 3 days long. So first of all, what planners did I use in 2021? The beginning of the year, I started out with the Hobonichi weeks, and I was using that from November of 2020 up until March of 2021. Very happily chugging along using it. I had the Mega, or have the Mega, and used the notes pages as a bullet journal and the weekly pages in the normal fashion. I don't honestly know why I quit using it. I've been trying to remember what it was that caused me to abandon that and move into rings, and I can't tell you. May have been just that I got really busy and felt like I needed more room for dailies. I don't really know. But I ended up moving in March into the A6 rings, which I used from March up until July. I'll talk a little bit about August and what's going on there, and that's a whole nother subject. But those are the two big things, or consistent things, from November to March, and then March to July. Those two planners, the weeks and the A6 rings, which if you've seen my other videos, you know that already. As far as other planners that I have cheated on, for lack of a better phrase, those two planners with, I flirted with an A6 Hobo for a very brief period of time. I bought last year the English version. I think I might have used it for 2 days in January, and I don't know why I keep buying the A6 English, because I don't like the thickness. It's not comfortable to write in to me, so I keep buying it and then abandoning it. I need to just make myself a note and tell myself I'm never allowed to buy an A6 English again. I bought and never used, literally never wrote on a page, a plum paper daily A5. This was due solely to watching YouTube videos that I probably shouldn't have been watching because I didn't need or want at the time a daily A5 coil bound planner. I don't know what I was thinking. I bought it. I thought I was going to use it for work. That was the justification I gave myself for buying it. And then I didn't. And so then I thought I might use it for home. So when I got it, I took a few pages like the first week and Xeroxed them, copied them, and was playing with things in there. Didn't actually write in the planner, which should have been my first indication that it wasn't going to work, because the fact that I wasn't willing to even commit to writing in the planner should have been an indication to me, you know, you're really not committed to this. This is a dalliance. This is not a love affair. So anyway, I printed those copies. I tried it out for 2 days, I think, and I was like, no, this is stupid. This is not going to work. So I sold it. Brand new, unused, sent it to a girl who was absolutely thrilled to get it overseas, and I was very happy to pass it on to somebody who I knew would use it. Traveler's notebooks was another thing that I considered for a half a second. I have this infatuation with traveler's notebooks. I love the aesthetic of them. I love the way they look. I love other people's traveler's notebooks. I love the boho vibe, but I get frustrated with how narrow they are, and I get frustrated with the fact that they don't lay flat. So I'll pull them out, I'll use them for a week or a day or two, and then I put them away because you know, I get frustrated with those things. So I never even actually planned in one. My thought was that I was going to journal in one. I took one with me when we went to the beach for Father's Day week because I had planned to start journaling in it then, and never even opened it, and it went back on the shelf. So I probably should just sell the TN stuff that I have, so I quit doing that, but I can't part with the covers that I have because they're just so luscious. So I just keep pulling them out and petting them and putting them back on the shelf. Who knew this was going to be such a risque video? Anyway, bullet journal is another thing that I toyed with. I have a B6 that I set up at the beginning of the year, and it's kind of comical if you flip through it because like there's January and it's all set up and beautiful, and then there's a week or a couple of days in March, and it's like then there's a couple of days in July, and then it jumps, you know, it hasn't stuck. I don't know why. Last year, before I moved into the A6 rings, I had used a B6 for I think 6 or 8 months very happily. I had used 2 B6 and was very content using one. What triggered me to move into the A6 rings? I don't know. Same kind of thing. But when I try to go back into the B6, it just hasn't worked for me. And I don't know why, other than, you know, it's just not the thing for me right now. A5 Hobonichi Avec was another dalliance this summer. Not for planning. I think I may have mentioned this in a previous video. I'll link it up here if I can find it. But I was going to use it for journaling, and I journaled in it for about 2 weeks maybe. And the A5 size, after getting used to using the A6 and the week size for the last year pretty much exclusively, the A5 was just too big, and even for journaling it just felt like too much and it felt overwhelming. So I probably won't pick that back up again, which makes me a little annoyed that I bought it and I'm not going to use it. But I'm thinking about maybe using it to practice watercolors, so we'll see. That's one thing I want to learn how to do is watercolor paint. So I've heard that the Hobonichi paper is really good for that, so maybe that's how I use it. Another thing that I used very briefly was my disc, A5 half letter disc, and that I use more for work than anything else, but I abandoned that pretty quickly and just went back to my notebook that's just a spiral notebook for work, because it's the simplest, easiest thing, and it's not expensive. So that's what I did. What's been working well for me, that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. So my DIY fish pages, my DIY fish inserts, as you guys know, I am a huge fan of those. I think I've used her stuff since 2011, maybe, if she's been around that long. At least 2015, probably before that. I'd have to look at my Google Docs folder where I have them all stored. But that horizontal week with the notes page on the other side just works for my brain, and it's like that's how I think in my planning, and I love the flexibility of the grid. So that has been working really well for me, which coincidentally is the same format as the Hobonichi weeks. So flip-flopping between the two, you know, works pretty well for me because it's the same structure. It's just a matter of what's the container that they're in. The daily bullet journaling also has worked really well for me. I have dallied with using some hourly layout pages in both the A5 as well as the A6 rings, A5 disc, and I just don't need that, especially because my work day is pretty much all, or my daytime is pretty much all work, and my work calendar is all in Outlook, and it's very fluid and it changes, and there is absolutely no point in writing it down because as soon as I write it down, something would change anyway. So it's all just about personal calendar stuff, and there's not enough of that on a day-to-day basis to warrant an hourly calendar. What's not working, I can't say anything specific that's not working, other than for the last week or two, I've had this angst. I was joking to my friend Lisa the other day that I have planner ennui, which sounds like Anne of Green Gables, you know, I'm wasting away. But I don't know why. I don't know whether it's just because it was the end of July, beginning of August, and you know, school's about to start and I'm used to things ramping up in my schedule, whether it was because my Schedule was a little different and things weren't quite as busy at work because everybody's on summer holidays and things like that. I don't know what triggered it for me, but I've just been feeling for the last week or two some angst and feeling like I wanted to do something different. So that's kind of sent me down a rabbit hole of, well, maybe I'll do traveler's notebooks and maybe I'll do this and maybe I'll do that. So right now I pulled my weeks back out. Thanks to Lisa and Sam, been using this for the last couple days. And I was telling Lisa this morning that I forgot how much I loved the weeks and how well it worked for me at the beginning of the year. And I'm trying to remember why I ever quit using it, and I can't. But I also want to be completely honest, and the A6 rings is not very far away. So right now I've got both of them and I'm keeping them up to date together. I feel like I need to pick one or the other. I think part of the other thing that's going on with me is that I'm used to managing the family calendar, like who's going where, who's doing what. Well, my oldest daughter's moved out into an apartment. She's in college. She's a junior. My youngest daughter is a senior in high school. She has a car. She's driving now. Praise the Lord. And so I don't have to worry about their schedules anymore. And I don't have to worry about where they're at and taking them somewhere and blocking my calendar and all of that. And I've never had to do that before. I've always had to take that into account and keep track of that. So I think part of the angst I'm feeling, or the unsettledness I'm feeling, is, okay, what kind of a planner do I need? I know what I've always used, or at least what I've used for the last 15 years. What do I need now for this new stage of life that I'm in, which is not an empty nester, but not, having to manage children's schedules and timelines and things like that so much. So I'm trying to figure that out. And it's funny because in one of the planner groups I'm in Facebook, somebody was talking about going back to work after working from home in COVID. And she was trying to figure out what her planner situation was going to be. And as I was typing it, I was chuckling to myself, but I said to her, give it some time, figure out what your new routine is going to be before you make any drastic planner decisions, because you just don't know, and it will resolve itself. It will reveal itself to you as, things go by. And as I was typing it, I was like, yeah, maybe listen to your own advice, kid, because that's probably what you need to do too, which is why I'm going to be maybe using both of these for a few weeks. I'm definitely going to use the weeks. I want to see if I can go back to just using the weeks for a very specific, all-in-one, everything, but also simple planner. And see if I can break my love affair with the rings or not. I don't know. Let me put these on the floor before they fall out of my lap. So there's nothing that's not working. I just need to figure out what is the best thing for me right now with this new, different style of planning that I'm doing. Being a semi, almost, maybe, kind of, sort of empty nester mom. I'm not going to be an empty nester mom for at least another year, but you know what I mean. So what's up for the second half of the year? It'll be the weeks or it'll be the rings. One of the two. I'm really not interested in trying anything else. I think that's one thing that July taught me, was that neither one or either or are the best for me. Nothing else really seems to work or makes me happy. So it'll be one of the two of those. Will the weeks make a comeback? We'll see. I'll keep you posted, and I'll walk you through that maybe in another video, what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So finally, I want to talk really quickly about the lessons I've learned through all of this this summer, and in the last 7 months, but mostly the last probably 6 weeks. Number one, stay away from impulse buys. Plum paper planner, anybody? Hand stitched leather tee and an A6 that I'll never use. That's another one. I think I need to restrict myself from making any purchases after 9 o'clock at night too, because that seems to be when I make the wrong decisions and buy things because I can, not because I need it or I want it. Well, obviously I want it, but not because I need it or I'm going to use it. Number two would be, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I need to be patient with myself when I'm feeling that angst and that discontent, and just kind of ride it out, because I think sometimes I'm reacting emotionally to other things, but it's showing up in my planner. And then I'm sending myself into a tailspin of, making changes when I don't really need to make changes because it's working it's really about something else. So instead of eating my feelings like some people do, and like I have been known to do, I'm making planner changes to mask feelings, which that's really big. I mean, just to even think about that is huge. And I need to start really sitting with that and figuring that out a little bit more. I have a system. Like I said, I know the system that I have now works for me, whether it's in the weeks or in the rings. And I need to just stick to that system and be content with it. And anything that I move outside of that isn't going to last very long. And I need to remember that without getting sucked into new planner release hype and watching other people's YouTube videos and things that work for them. The fourth one, yeah, this is 4. This is 3, 4. The fourth one is that I like simple and I like basic and I don't like a lot of decoration. So this one goes back to something I talked about earlier in another video about if you have all these pretty planner stickers and washi tapes and all that, you should use them. And I've been doing that. And one of the things I'm finding is that the more decoration I put ahead of time, the more distracting the pages are to me when it's time to plan. I like putting my stickers and my decorations on after the fact, and it's kind of a cathartic or relaxing experience for me to do, but not doing it before I plan because it distracts me. So I have to figure out that balance in the second half of the year between using all the things that I have, because I have pretty things, and also keeping it functional and streamlined and clean for me to plan. And that may mean that I need to make some changes in some of the pretty subscriptions that I have, just because if I'm not going to use them completely, I don't really need to continue to buy them. It's wasteful. Number 5, social media makes me crazy. As much as it entertains me, as much as I love watching videos and scrolling through Instagram and Facebook groups and things like that, and as much as I learn and get expired, it also can put me into a tailspin. And I think it goes back to that emotional, you know, quote unquote, eating your feelings kind of thing. And I need to figure out where that boundary is, and maybe restrict myself a little bit from using some of that if I know that I'm feeling that way to begin with. Don't go looking for love in all the wrong places. So number 6, and finally, simple is best. It's easy to maintain. It's easy to be consistent with, and I'm happiest when it's simple, and I don't need a whole bunch of stuff to be happy. So that's going to be my focus for the rest of the year, is, you know, keeping it simple, keeping it consistent, and figuring out a way to be, you know, in one place for the rest of the year, whether that's the rings or the weeks, still to be determined. So that's it. What are your lessons learned from the first half of 2021? Have you done any introspection or any thought about what worked for you, what didn't work for you? For those of you that did do One Book July, did you learn anything from that, cutting things down to just one book and one pen for the month? And did it influence any changes for you for the rest of the year? And if those changes are things that are in your planning, what are you doing differently than you have done so far this year? I'd be really interested to hear if you guys have any, have changed anything based on what you did the first half to what you're doing for the second half. Second half minus a month, since it's August already. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please don't forget to hit the like button, and I would love it if you would subscribe for more silliness and planners in the future. And thanks so much. I hope you guys all have a great day. Bye.